All right, well, we can talk to Ilyas Nagdee from the National Union of Students. So, Ilyas, social media shone the light on this, but my sense is just scratching the surface.
Absolutely. The stories that we have seen come to light over social media are very much the tip of the iceberg. For every one story of the Bracton Law Society, for every one story of Rufaro Chisango, there's 1,000 stories which go unheard. And
what are universities doing to try and stop this? I mean, you can't police people's thought. How can you stop them being racists?
So one of the mechanisms which students have actually been campaigning on over the last few years is the implementation of things like zero tolerance campaigns on campus. What we now need to see is a refreshed commitment by universities to really properly fund and resource these campaigns, to really put their entire backing behind it, and to make sure they're working with the student body and holding themselves transparently accountable. Like, there's clearly something wrong on our campuses if this behaviour is still continuing, and universities need to take account of that, and they need to take proactive action immediately.
I mean, Ilyas, could these just be isolated incidents? I mean, the Nottingham one, those guys were clearly intoxicated. That Bracton Law Society one, that's a bunch of lads, as I said, engaging in what they would term banter. Can you spread this wider, do you really think, and say that there's racism endemic on UK campuses?
I would exactly say that. I think whenever instances like this occur, one of the first sort of statements which institutions and other people turn to is that these are isolated incidents, these are one-off incidents. But actually, if we look at the pattern that's being built up here, if we look at the national conversation that's been happening over social media, over the last few weeks, as some of these incidents have gone viral, it's very much clear, like, this isn't just a once every month, once every 2-month thing. This is a day-to-day reality for marginalised students on campuses here.
And Ilyas, the point is, I guess, as you mentioned, social media and things going viral. When I was at school at Trent, we didn't have the chance, I guess, to have these instant reactions to things, to horrific things that happened to us, so we weren't able to make these things go viral. Social media is playing a big part in making sure that these causes are looked into properly.
Yeah, so social media is playing a big factor here in these instances going viral. But what's also interesting is the university's response to a lot of these. That it's almost as if, like, there's a wait for these incidents to gain traction. Until these situations go viral, like, universities will not deal with them. There's almost that sort of trend playing out here. When I'm speaking to students on a day-to-day basis who are telling me about incidents on campus, that they've spoken to so many different people within universities and their sort of affiliated organisations, they're being told that they're being bounced from individual to individual across the institution. And no one is taking account and listening to them and helping deal with the situation. And so they have to air their frustrations on social media. And I think until universities do take proper account of this internally, it is going to be accountability through social media, because that is the only accountability that students are seeing any real action from.
And Ilyas, what response have you got as a member of the National Union of Students from universities?
So we've not reached out to... So as the National Union of Students, we work with students on a day-to-day basis and with student union and officers. So I've been reaching out and speaking to many of the students affected by these different situations, whether that's in Nottingham, in Exeter and in De Montfort and elsewhere. And I've been speaking to them on a personal basis to see how I can support them and how I can support elected reps throughout this process. And the conversation is, again, happening in the same way. Like, these incidences aren't new. That's something which people have tried to raise through internal mechanisms. And quite often, those internal processes and procedures end up working against the students. They end up exhausting the students. So they are doing the only thing now which they have seen has worked. The only thing that institutions are truly caring about at the moment, which unfortunately isn't the welfare of their students, but is the reputation of the institution. And so students are going to have to take to social media unless universities start to deal with this robustly and properly.
All right, Ilyas, from the National Union of Students, thank you very much for joining us.